Hello, I'm Patricia Diorio, and this is Get Conscious Now. Inspirational, entertaining, and informational, this show is committed to making a global impact to build a better world by raising consciousness. We have a studio audience with us today, and I'm just thrilled about that. Thank you all for being here. Just your presence gives us this wonderful vibration to do an excellent show. So thanks, everyone, and feel free to just real time, say, do whatever you want, clap, all of it. So today's show is on conscious love. Love, that four-letter word. Today we're going to take love and the meaning of love to a whole new depth of understanding. And I can't wait for you to meet our guest, because if there were ever an expert that would earn the title of a conscious lover, it would be this person. So this is going to be a great show. It's going to be a delicious show, so stay tuned. And speaking of delicious, now I have the opportunity to introduce my co-host, Stu Zimmerman, who brings the vibration of love to the show, definitely, with his wide grin and his wonderful wit and savoir-faire, so to speak. And also, whenever he talks about love, he expresses it with tremendous transparency as well. So, Stu?
Patricia?
Isn't that a good introduction, darling?
Yeah, it was fabulous. Unrehearsed even. That was great. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
Yes, welcome everybody. Welcome back to Get Conscious Now. And if you're new to the program, truly welcome for the first time. Because we're really bringing consciousness in is not just simply a matter of the mind, but also very much of the heart. And we bring it in all different kinds of directions, all different kinds of angles, whether it's from a heart-based, whether it's from a spiritual-based, and even kind of grounded in terms of finance, education, and a lot of other prior programs. So we really invite you, if you've missed any of our shows, we've had Deepak Chopra on, Reverend Michael Beckwith, Julia Loggins, and really a cast of characters, all of whom bring their own inimitable vibration and wisdom to the program. So we really invite you to come to our YouTube channel, to Facebook, to our website, and check out our prior programs. Before you meet our guest and move on with this program, here's a message from a couple of our supporters.
If you are passionate about your message, if you want your book to be the best it can be, and if you want someone to do it for you with your collaboration every step of the way, then Ellen Reed is the one for you. Get Conscious Now is proud to be sponsored by American Riviera Bank. It's our bank, and we feel good about it. I'm afraid the word love and the concept of love has sadly become rather cliché in today's world. There are so many definitions of love, and we've heard a lot of them, like love is all there is, whatever the answer, love is the question, and of course the well-turned phrase, God is love. But do we really know what love is, do we? Well, today we're going to look at love through the eyes of a man who has dedicated his life to sharing about conscious love. His name is Robert Clancy. He's a gifted entrepreneur and inspirational speaker and a minister from upstate New York. I'm just going to read a little bit about him before you meet him. At age 19, he had a divine spiritual experience that altered his life path tremendously. And we're going to hear all about that just in about a minute. Today, he is not only a spiritual teacher, but he is also a consummate, successful businessman with his wife, Lauren, in their business called Spiral Design Studio, one of the largest full-service graphic design and web development firms in the Northeast, with such notable clients as Citi, Home Depot, and Sears. That's impressive. He's an author of several books, the most popular of which are The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Soul and Daily Downloads and Fortune Cookies from the Universe. I love the title of that. And his next book, Soul Ciphers, Decoding a Life of Hope and Happiness, will be out very soon. That's a working title. So in light of our show, the thing that impresses me most about Robert Clancy is that he is one of the rare individuals on the planet that has found his balance between the material and spiritual world. Something I think all of us really need to do. We need to be aware that we are spirit beings in physical form, that we are creating our reality with every thought we think, every word we speak, and every emotion that we express. But for those of us that have spent most of our lives in the spiritual, there's always been a struggle to bring in the material. And for people that have focused on the material and making money, their struggle is to come into the spiritual. So I want to acknowledge that Robert seems to have handled both of those, being a successful businessman and a man that's very, very devoted to his spiritual work and bringing this conversation of conscious love out to the entire world. Thank you, Robert, for being here today.
It is an absolute joy
Such a pleasure.
and honor
Really.
to be here today with
absolutely.
you. Absolutely.
Right, thank you. So I think we're all anxious to hear about your wonderful story, so please share it with us.
Well, it starts out kind of simple. I had lost all hope in my life at age 19. I had lost friends to suicide, to car accidents, and just my whole life was falling apart. The great thing that I learned from that is you need to communicate that to others, because I didn't. I held it in. But luckily, a sage, a person, an angel at my workplace noticed something wasn't right. And she pulled me aside and said, I know what's going on with you. And I tried to deny it, and it was almost as if she saw through me. She rummaged through her purse and she pulled out a booklet on how to meditate. And she said, you need to go home and do this. Because at the time I was mixing deadly cocktails of prescription drugs and alcohol to dull my pain. And I was ashamed of myself. So I went home and I did it. And I was about 3 hours in, and I thought I saw a light, what the book described as your mind's eye. So I briefly opened my eyes, and there was a light shining on the wall. So I said, wow, you just wasted 3 hours of your life because you thought you were having a divine experience. I got up to move my curtain, and I could not break the beam of the light. It was then I realized the light was actually coming from the wall. And so I sat there and watched it, and it got brighter, and then it looked like a paper cut out of an angel as it got larger. And I thought, this is pretty interesting. The book didn't really talk about this. And it suddenly just unfolded into an angel. And I literally said out loud, oh my God, because I could see the nose, the mouth, and the face. And I let it happen. And she came through what I can only determine looked like a portal, because there was a dark hole on the wall that looked like space, but there was only one star in it, and it was her, until she actually manifested. And I believe that she came to heal me, because when I saw her face, her hands opened, and I closed my eyes and I could see the light coming from her onto me. And I'm a very analytical person. I'm a programmer. I view everything that way. I am a hardcore analyst on those things. And I experimented with it. First thing I thought was, can you read my thoughts? And that's when she started smiling and nodded. And then in my 19-year-old wisdom, I said, I better watch what I'm thinking. And then I blurted out, so what are we doing here? Not my most profound moment. I knew why she was there, because I wasn't on my path. I needed to find it. And at the end, she floated forward and touched me with her index finger on my forehead. And all I can tell you is I was plugged into everything, all love, all heaven, all peace. And it was an experience that I wish I could share with everyone. I wish I could draw her face, because it was the most beautiful face that I've ever seen outside of my wife. But it was a face that is burned into me. And I've thought every day since then, why me? Why did she select me for this? And I talked to myself in the mirror right after this experience. And I said, dude, that just happened. And you're going to have to live with this for the rest of your life. You're going to have to live with knowing it's real. And you're going to have to carry that burden. And I didn't tell anyone because I didn't want to be judged. It wasn't out of fear. She took all fear, doubt, and worry from my life. But I wanted to keep it somewhat personal to me. I never even told my family. And then I told my dad the night that I knew my mother was going to pass away. She was very sick. And they'd been married for 64 years, so I said, Dad, I need to tell you something. And I told him, and this was a few years ago. And at that point, I felt free. I felt I can't take this to the grave, and that's why I'm here with you today.
Wow. And it was for how 30 years before you told your father?
30 years before I told my dad.
Or anybody?
Roughly. It was, yeah.
Wow, that is amazing.
And then I told the rest of my family.
So that's an amazing experience. How has it impacted your life? And let's just take it in two phases. The 30 years in which you hadn't shared that with anybody overtly, how did that impact your life during that time frame?
Well, it's a great question. It impacted my life in so many profound ways. To put it into words is difficult, but what I did is I dedicated myself to serving youth because she had shown me this when she touched my forehead. I saw pictures, it was conveyed through pictures and thoughts, and it was, you need to work with youth. And I joined a program as a volunteer called the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership, which inspires youth through leadership, through service, to help others. And they're like ripples that go out. And she showed me the ripples of kindness that each of these students that go through this program. And I eventually got in it. I've been a volunteer for that for 26 consecutive years in this program. And I'm the only volunteer in New York State that has been consecutively at all the seminars. And it is such a light-bringing program. It just creates wonderful beings who go out and do this service. So that's one part.
Did they know your story?
They don't. They didn't. Somehow
it's leaking out.
It's getting
I have a
there.
feeling
But
it's going to be leaking
some
out
of
a
them,
lot more
some
now.
of them do know, because
Yeah.
I have told some of the staff members and people that, you know, this is me. And the other is, I've just tried to do the best I could, and I'm human. I'm flawed. We all make mistakes. I tried to correct them. I tried to move forward, and I tried to be that person, and tried to share the kindness and the hope for other people, because I found that people let go of hope, and hope will never leave your side unless you choose to let go of it. And there were so many gifts that that experience gave me. And as you know, on December 1st, 2012, the quotes started, what I call the downloads. That's why my second book is called Daily Downloads and Fortune Cookies from the Universe. I literally wake up every day with these beautiful, inspiring words in my head, and I share them with the world on my Facebook page, because they're not for me, they're for everyone.
Okay, give us one right now.
Of all the journeys of life, you'll encounter valleys of despair and mountains of hope. Just know that the heavens are above those valleys and the mountaintops touch them. To reach the summit, you just have to take one hope-filled step past all of your fear, doubt, and worry.
Wow. And so they just come in and you write them down, or
Yes.
and then you just know them?
I just know them for the most part. My favorites, they're sort of in a Rolodex in my mind, and trust me, my memory's not this good. You can ask my wife. I don't remember to take the laundry and put it in, from the washing machine to the dryer, but these are stuck in my head, and I'm, those things. But it's a profound thing. I just wake up and it's like you have no thought and all thought, and they're just there. They're written, and if I want them, I can just grab them and bring them here for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Great.
Well, the quotes that you have been generating have led now to quite some popularity on Facebook.
Yes, there are just crossed 250,000 people yesterday.
And you started, I think I remember reading in 2012 with 111
Yes.
likes, and now you have 250,000.
Right, and I Googled the number 111, and it's an angel number, apparently. So, and I don't think that was a coincidence that 12112 and the 111 were there, but it's all part of it. And now these, and I've got poems and different things that I write.
So have you heard from, I think you referred to her as Gabriel, didn't you? The angel
Yes.
Gabriel. Have you heard from her again?
Well, it's
Or maybe it's
different.
Gabrielle.
Yes, the name that I was left with that night was Gabriel, and it was a female. And I know in the Bible it says Gabriel's a male, but my belief is that Angels manifest themselves in a form that's comfortable for you. And she looked like a Roman statue, and that would definitely be comfortable for me because I've always felt a kinship to ancient Greece and Rome and the architecture. And that's exactly what she looked like. And the name was just in my mind afterwards. I don't have an explanation of why, but I knew because I actually talked to myself in the mirror and said it out loud at that time. And when I was experimenting with her, I was able to close my eyes and see her with my eyes open or closed. And when I closed my eyes, I believe it was from what the mind's eye is, and it looks like an X-ray version of it, and it looked like when you blow a candle out in a dark room. And when I opened my eyes, so I did this several times, I literally blinked and opened and looked into her face, and I kept thinking, wow, that's really cool how I can see it on both planes. And I've seen that since then. When I go to sleep, if I meditate, I'm instantly in that. It's almost like a window to that side, and I do see faces or things moving around or other objects. And but I've never seen it the way that it, crystal clear in that sense. But yeah, it's something that happens every night.
Wow, that's great. Wow.
In addition to learning one thing about yourself, namely in how to serve youth, did you learn anything else, even perhaps less about the to-do in life, but more in the to-be in life, in terms of your own being? Did it unlock something within you?
Yes.
Just in presence and energy?
That is a beautiful question, because it does unlock other things, and I have unlocked those. And what you say is, what other have I learned from that? And it's that every act of kindness matters, every single one. It generates love, and love is such a simple word. It's 4 letters, but have we ever really thought about what it truly means to humanity? It's how we're connected to the very fabric of the universe. And when you think of the word love, there are no synonyms. No synonyms. There's close, but there's only one thing to describe it. But when you think deeply about what it really means to all of us and the universe, and it's endless. Love is so powerful, it transcends death itself. And it goes to the nth level, because I felt that when she touched me. And I know what heaven feels like. And so what I've learned is that even a simple smile can save someone's life. And the angel smiled at me, and I realized then that this is a tool that we all carry with us every single day. And how many of us smile when we're alone? When we're alone.
Do you find yourself smiling when you're alone?
I do, and it was critical about a week ago when I climbed 22 miles and 5,000 feet in the Appalachian Trail of New Hampshire, and I ran out of water, and my family ran out of water because I was hiking with my brother, my son, and 2 friends, and all the experienced hikers ran out because of the humidity, and we were above the tree line. And at times you were walking by yourself just because the speed of the group is different, so there's no one in front of you, no one behind you. And I stopped, and I actually started questioning, wow, I think we're in trouble now, because I still have about 6 or 7 hours to go, and I'm completely out of water, and I'm getting dehydrated because I started getting a little dizzy, and my legs were getting wobbly. And I started worrying about my son a little bit, that, can he have the strength to get through, and we got to make this. And I stopped, and I just took in the area, and the words came into me. God's math is everywhere that you can see, and it all adds up to one thing: love. Take each step forward and smile on your journey, because you're heading to your destiny. And as long as you place one foot in front of the other, you will get there. And so I started smiling, as much as every one of those steps hurt. And this is some of these climbs. We're going up 4 peaks and down 4 peaks. That's a 1/4 mile to a 1/2 mile rocky staircase for hours on end. So
it was a chore to smile.
Yeah. The smile
Right.
helped me get through, because I realized I am out here in this beautiful place, and I'm not going to let the pain of my legs and my thighs take that away. So I smiled, and I got through.
So was what came to you as you stopped, and was that a new
Yes.
download that was just brand new that just came to you just like that?
Yes. It's almost like I see data points on everything in life. Everything inspires me, just about. And somebody took a fire extinguisher out once and said, well, if everything inspires you, then this will. And I kind of tried to explain to them that it doesn't necessarily work that way, but they picked a word off the fire extinguisher and said, respiratory is your word, be inspired. And I said, when the air is filled with love, you will never have respiratory issues. Just breathe and enjoy life. And they said another word is pressure. And I said, when you feel the weight of the world upon you, know that love will hold up anything as long as your faith does too. And then they were kind of freaked out.
That didn't have pressure in it, though.
Right, but it's the
Right.
concept
Yes.
of pressure.
Right.
Sometimes I visualize, but that's correct too.
I'm listening.
I gotcha.
Okay, we're there.
And then they said, you did that on the fly. And I said, spread your wings with love and life will always be a smoother sail. And then they stopped and they just were in awe. And I was too, because I'm a spectator to this as well. I'm on the
You're a
same
vehicle,
side
yeah.
and I'm watching
yeah,
this
a channel.
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a channel.
So what do you think is going on?
Divine inspiration. What's going on is, as long as you open your soul, and I think anyone can do this, as long as you open yourself up to it, it's there, and believe. It's those three words, faith, love, and hope. And I've spent the last 30 years trying to figure out what those three things mean, because each of them, they don't have synonyms. They're just pure. They're the pure words.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've done.
Wow. Well, before we get too much more into the esoteric, I would really like to talk about the other aspect of your life, which is as a businessman with your wife in Spiral Design Studios. So again, it's unusual that someone would be doing this kind of work and also, have a full-on business that
Right.
I would think requires a lot of your attention. Can you just share a little bit about that?
Sure. Our company, we've always looked at it. When my wife and I started Spiral Design, we thought we're taking things from the community and we need to put back into it. And anyone can do this with anything that they're doing. So when we started our office, we had an office party, so clients came. And what do they like to do? They like to bring you a bottle of wine or something. And what we said was, instead of bringing us a bottle of wine, why don't you bring a toy donation for the shelter for battered women and children? And we filled the conference room.
Yeah. So you've totally incorporated
Threaded
the whole
it right in.
concept, yeah.
And you can do this. So it's not just about writing checks to the community. You need to get involved. And we've always had a concept of putting back into the community what we take out tenfold. So when we purchased a building, for instance, we had a goal to preserve the beautiful architecture. We have these beautiful Victorian buildings and houses. And this building was going to be torn down. And it was going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to restore it. But it was so beautiful on the inside and the outside that we had to buy this building and restore it. Because it's a gift for the community. It's the history of the community. And believe it or not, the ancestors, the great-great-grandchildren of the guy who built that building just came to visit it.
Really?
And got to see it. And they wouldn't have otherwise, because it may have been torn down. Mm-hmm. And so we preserved this building, but we also did it in a creative way. And I think creativity is what really drives our company, because you can be creative with anything. And Victorian tile cost thousands of dollars, and Victorian tile had to be replaced in the building. I went to Home Depot and found marble and cut them into the shapes on a wet saw. And we recreated it through marble
cut them
and
yourself?
granite. Our contractor did, but we came up with the pattern. It was a beautiful basket weave pattern. But with that creativity, we were able to preserve the Victorian essence of the building and do it cost effectively. So the initial restoration cost us $44,000. And it should have been a lot more than that. We had a great contractor who was very creative with what he did as well. So.
Right. Wow. So are your clients in your business familiar or aware of your other life, so to speak?
I think most of them are. We've released the book, so our clients are aware of our altruistic goals with the company. Some are aware of the divine experience. I've even told new business meetings because it's all part of me. It's part of our company. It's part of our essence. And when things are in alignment with your life and your business, everything clicks. And so we attract in companies that are doing great things for the community, and we want to help them grow. And we'll put our best effort into it because they're going to take their abundance and put it back into the community, and that's really important to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's a beautiful reciprocity that happens in there.
Yeah, what city in Upper State?
We're located in Cohoes, New York, which is just north of Albany, and we chose that. It's a beautiful small city that has this beautiful architecture, and it was at the height of the Industrial Revolution, and it kind of got left for dead, for lack of a better word, and it's cut off from everything. And now our clients are coming to us because they want to see this building, and it's helping everybody in that community grow. And the people are so wonderful there. They're born and raised. I have generations there who used to work in the mills. There were a lot of knitting mills and different things back in the Industrial Revolution, and it went through that.
Mm.
So how are they sitting with some of your other experiences that are probably non-ordinary for any area, possibly a little more ordinary in California on some measure, but back east, upstate New York, kind of a smaller town type of mentality. How does all of this, conversation play out over there?
Well, the conversation plays out in town through pride. They have a pride in the community, and they welcomed people from outside to come in, and we're treated like family there.
Nice.
And so that's one of the things. And it was sort of scary at first because we don't know, they have a bad reputation or something. And we went in, and it's just beautiful people, so I haven't had any problems,
Yeah.
And you got to trust. You got to trust. And my gut was this is a place that can use us. And other companies have come and followed, and other buildings were restored. And we actually received a special award from New York State Department of Historic Preservation for the effort that we did and the economic impact that we've had on the community.
Wow.
So love plays anywhere pretty much.
It does.
Yeah.
And threaded into your life.
Yeah.
So in your first book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Soul, you talk about love, but you use it as an acronym. So what do the 4 letters stand for then?
That was one of the earliest quotes. So the acronym for love came to me back in 1994, and I know the moment that it happened, and there was a quote associated with it. So love is 4 things for me. It's leadership, opportunity, volunteerism, and enthusiasm. And if you fill your heart with love, life will mend itself. But if you fill your soul with love, you'll be able to mend the hearts of others. And that was the whole phrase.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at leadership as an important component to everything that you do. Because without leaders, and these great leaders that we've had in this world, to take people where they need to go, and you need that. The greatest leaders are found at the top of a mountain, looking back upon their challenges. But the greatest of all leaders are still at the foot of the mountain, helping others reach the summit. And that's what
So
leadership
it's about
means.
Service leadership.
Yes.
Yeah.
Service leadership.
Servant
And
leader.
volunteerism, when we were chatting last night, you also used the word vision.
Yes.
Yeah.
And vision is an important thing because you need to see where you're going and you need to visualize it. And I like to draw a picture of what that is because I believe that once you bring it into manifestation, once you see it and you can visualize it, even an issue or a hurdle in your life, you can overcome it once you draw it. Stress comes from not the unknown. It's you don't make the list, so you're overwhelmed and you're getting stressed out in your life. And if you make a list or draw a picture of what those things are, it's kind of like you look at it and say, I was worried about that. And you can conquer it. So it's all part of that vision piece.
When you talk about leadership, I mean, I know some people think that leadership has to do with some kind of hierarchy. That there's a leader, even if in your example, you're talking about a leader at the bottom of the mountain helping people up. There's still this implied hierarchy here. Yet, aren't we all just all leaders, and we're all leading our lives, literally?
Yes.
And then,
my dad had a great quote. He was a World War II veteran. He was on the D-Day invasion on Omaha Beach in the third wave, and he liberated a concentration camp. He was a frontline combat medic. I didn't know what his life stood for until after he passed, when somebody said, your dad was a fighter and he was a healer. And he said you need to lead by example, but you also know when you have to lead by following, and know the difference of when those two things are. And so he gave me the leadership, that component, and it was from very early on. He always said those words to me, and it stuck with me.
So it sounds like you had a great relationship with your parents growing up. I mean, were they at all spiritually inclined, or was there religion in your life? You know, what was your upbringing like in relationship to the work you're doing now?
Yes, my mother was very religious, so in answer to that question, yes. And I was raised Roman Catholic, and my mom was very devout and went to church, and I had made my confirmation I went through, and brought that spirituality to me. But what she really brought to my life was what she did with her job. She was a beautician, and it was at her wake that people came up to me and said, it wasn't how your mom made me look, it was how she made me feel.
It sounds to me like you had parents that were well chosen by you and what you're doing today,
Yes.
Robert. Yeah, and I want you to know that I so appreciate your sensitivity.
Yes.
I can see it, and I
Yes.
feel it. Yes, it's beautiful.
My heart is open, and I feel the emotion, because when I say these stories, I see the people, but I feel it, and I feel and I relive those moments.
Yeah.
you know, I'm really curious, being raised as a Catholic, and then having the angelic experience that you had. Has that at all shifted your relationship to that religion?
No, in fact, it's probably enhanced to all religions, because I look at each religion as a pathway to the same thing. It's just a different voice. And my parents were at a elderly home, which was the Teresian House, which is run by nuns. And these nuns were incredible, and I told them my story. And one of the nuns took my hands and she said, "You're blessed." And I was telling her the quotes I was getting, and she started taking my quotes, and I put them in her inbox each week. And she would read them to the staff. And then they took one of my books and put it in the library there. And I've had deep conversations with all of these people, and I've always been in awe of people that just have complete blind faith. And I told them, and I've talked to rabbis, I've talked to gurus, I've talked to everyone collecting information, and all religions are valid and all lead to the same place. It's just what speaks to your heart.
And I would be remiss to say that, unfortunately, religion also provides dogma that is not helpful, I feel. You know, I mean, that's my own personal experience, but having been raised Catholic as well, you know. And I think that, in essence, all religions are, as you say, you know, pathways to the same destiny, God, if you will. But I also feel that there has been a control on the part of structured religions, you know, to control people through fear. I mean, that when I was raised, it was you were controlled. You went to church because you were fearful of not going to church, right?
Right.
So anyway, I just want to say that, not that I disagree with you. I just feel that, you know, that needs to be looked at as well. So your newest book coming out now, Soul Ciphers, the working title, Decoding a Life of Hope and Happiness. You discuss reverse climbs in life. What are reverse climbs?
Reverse climbs are something I discovered in my early 20s. And I've actually asked a lot of experienced climbers. I learned about them when I went to the Grand Canyon, and I ended up foolishly taking Bright Angel Trail which is one of the most difficult trails there is. It's about 8-mile hike.
You just like the title, right?
I liked it. I said, hey, angels, how bad
Right,
can that be?
That's right.
So I grabbed a couple bottles of water and a sandwich and my friend, and our hotel was a couple miles from the trailhead, and we said, it's such a beautiful morning, why don't we walk over? So we walked the 2 miles to the trailhead, and as I got there, people were coming out who looked like they'd been to hell. They were not looking up, and they were just breathing heavy, and I said, out of shape. These people are out of shape. And I sailed past them, and I got down about maybe 3 or 4 hours in on this climb, and I came across a large sign, and it said warning, big red letters on the top. Got my attention. It said, if you do not have 4 liters of water on your person and you choose to pass this sign, we will not be able to A, rescue you, or B, recover your body for some time. And then somebody scratched in the bottom, have a nice day, with a smiley face. And I looked at my pack, and I had about 3/4 of a bottle of water left and a half a sandwich. And I felt fine. So I chose to continue. And I went another hour.
With your friend?
With my friend in tow. We finally passed a park ranger, and I saw this little tiny house at the bottom, and it looked like a Monopoly piece at the perspective I was at. I wasn't getting any closer, and there were ants marching in it and coming out. And I said, that's a weird place to put a gift shop. And he said, oh no, that's not a gift shop. That's where you get your water for your return trip. And as you're going down, you're walking into a desert. So you're slowly dehydrating. And then he said, we lose people on the trail. And I thought, how can you lose anybody on this trail? It's straight down and straight back. I mean, you must not be looking very hard for everybody. Took a few more steps, and that's when it hit me. And I realized he wasn't talking about losing them. He meant that they passed away on the trail. And I told my friend, you know, I think we should turn around. And he said, I'm so glad you said that, because I've been thinking that for the last hour. And so we made the turn. And that's when the reverse climb started. Because as far as you go down, it takes you twice as long to get out. I reached the trailhead at dark. It was dusk. And my legs were burning. And I looked over at my friend and I said, I can't believe we didn't bring the car over here. And we had to walk back to the hotel.
What about your water?
Oh, that was gone hours
Well, I
earlier.
know, but how did you be without any water?
We made it back out. And I sat there in the hotel and my legs, and I thought, this is what happens to people in life. They take these exits off of their path and they go down, and it's easy to go down. What's hard is making that turn. But once you do, you've got to keep putting one foot in front of the other. And I thought of how many people went down there and didn't ask for help. Didn't say I was stupid and I forgot my water. Or the people passing people that didn't look healthy and say, you're not looking so good, I should help you and extend my hand. And this is what happens in life. And we all need to be on the lookout for people, because if somebody hadn't spoken to me, I wouldn't be sitting here today.
So then how do we really know whether we are on our path or not on our path? Because what we may think is a straight line kind of meanders a bit at times. So how do you think you know whether somebody's on their path or not?
That is an excellent question. And it is a profound question, because your pathway that you're describing is within your soul. And you need to trust and have the faith. And I believe that everyone knows when they are taking that exit for whatever reason, because I knew when I was taking the exit in my life, so I can only speak from my experience. And I feel that if you're not on your path, the signs are there. But there's also these kindred spirits, people that you'll come across who are like guideposts to help you back onto your trail. And I've encountered them. One was at age 6 when I was in Jamaica. I met this man named Alex the Pool Man, and I felt as if I'd known him forever, and he felt the same way. And he took me under his arm, and he saved my life 3 times during that trip in 3 different ways. The first way was he taught me how to swim, because I was afraid of the water. And I had fallen in the pool later, and back in 1971, They didn't have a lifeguard at that pool. I slipped in it at night, but I was able to swim. I probably would have drowned. There was no one around. I was so excited that I learned how to swim that I told him about it, and he took me out to get some shells. He had a secret stash along the beach way up from where we were staying. And as I was walking along, I saw a purple balloon in the water, and I went running for it. And the next thing I know, the wind got knocked out of me because I was thrown. He pounced on me like a cheetah and threw me over his shoulder, and I landed on my back because the purple balloon was a Portuguese man-of-war jellyfish. And it was one of the largest ones he'd ever seen. And if it had stung me, I wouldn't be here. It stung him. And I started crying. And he said, no, it's okay. And he showed me his other scars because he dove for coral to support his village in the mountains. And he kept telling me about the beautiful place that he lives. And I begged my parents to let them take me there. And they checked into him, and they did let me go. And it was just him and I. I went to this village, and when I first arrived, I saw an elderly woman fixing a front step. And I looked up at him and I said, are you people poor people? Because where I come from, workmen do that, not my grandmother. And he said, the big grin, and he laughed, and he said, what we do not have in riches, we are rich with love and everything else. And as he said that, the boys and the children from the village came out and placed fruit at my feet.
Wow.
It was like a bounty there. And I kept saying, no, no, I'm just like you. And just when I said that, he hoisted me up onto a donkey, and they had a crown made out of palm leaves and placed it on my head.
Oh,
Really? Oh,
sweet.
God.
And they walked me through the village as a prince. And from the perspective on the donkey, I could see the beautiful seas around that village and the beauty that was there. So the third way that he saved me was through compassion. Because when I left there, I only left with the clothes on my back. I begged my parents to give all of my clothes to the kids in the village who had torn clothes. And it's just stuck with me. I've always known what love is, and I know when I went off my path. So in answer to that question, it comes back to that.
Okay, so let me ask you this question then. We pretty much said that we really don't know and understand the magnitude of love, right? And then you've given your acronym of leadership, opportunity, volunteerism, and enthusiasm, right? Love. But, given our conversation today, how would you, through the eyes of Robert, define the word love? How would you describe love? How would you define love for us?
That is such a profound question, and I don't really have the answer. I've written 78,000 words, and I've tried to figure it out my entire life. The only thing I know is that it is everything that is in the universe. And I know the old phrase that says God is love, but I believe that God is also the spirit of love. And there's a difference there.
What is the difference?
It is the spirit of everything. It's the essence of God's soul in the essence of the universe. And I feel it in every single thing that is here, that there's love. And I'm not talking about being in love or the physical attraction. It's so much greater than all of that. And we're here on this to learn that lesson. And I know it's a pretty simple one when you take a child and you teach them what hot and cold is. And then they burn their hand, and the cold water feels well. But if it's too cold, then warm feels good. And love works that way. And it's almost as if we have to learn that lesson, because when you go to that side, and what I was tapped into back when I was 19 and had the divine experience, that when you connect with that level of love, you have to appreciate it. So that's why we have this balance in life. So you need to bring balance to your own life. And there's always good times and there's always bad times, but it's this cycle. And it's seeing the silver lining in anything that happens, because there's always something. And I talk about the silver lining a lot. and it's all part of it.
And ultimately, it's just a matter of being here in the moment, right?
Yes.
And just allowing for that, whether you call it love or joy or gratitude, our connection with either both something greater and something equal, namely
Right.
each other or
And
whatever it is.
it's the beautiful message that your show brings to the world, because I feel the ripples of this and the people that it touches and the people that you've brought in here, because I've watched several of your episodes, and what you guys bring to the table is a beautiful thing.
Thank you. Well, you know, I normally
It's a labor of love, is it
It
not?
It is. And you know, you've already given us your, you know, I was going to ask you now. I always close the show with a pearl of wisdom, and you've given us so many pearls of wisdom, and certainly this last sharing about love. But what would you like to leave our audience with today, Robert? With our audience here with us today, and also our viewers.
I would say that everything that you do in life leads on a path of love. So you need to bring that into everything that you do. And you have to feel it, you have to mean it, and it's just part of the journey. And trust, because hope will never leave your side unless you choose to let go of it. Love is always there, and it's tenfold over whatever you feel. And you just have to have the faith to know that that's all going to be there for you always.
Great.
Beautiful.
Wow. And just as I suspected, this has flown. You can't believe it.
Yes.
It's been 41 minutes. So thank you so much, really, for being here.
Just
It's
truly,
it's a pleasure.
Robert, thank you, brother.
appreciate you guys.
Yeah. thank
Meeting you, Stu and I were talking about this, you know, doing the work that we do, we've been like strangers in a strange land. I've always felt like a stranger in a strange land, given where I've come from in my life and what I'm up to. But now I feel like as this consciousness movement moves forward, that we're attracting our tribe.
Yeah.
You know, we're really bringing in the people that are also, you know, that also have been in that place of kind of like a lone island, but not really. So thank you very much.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. Wow, that was a really wonderful interview with Robert Clancy. It moved me in my very core. So now I'm very curious to see what Mr. Stu Zimmerman is going to do for his Stu's Views on love.
Thank you, Patricia.
Take it away.
I share your curiosity.
Oh,
All right.
surprising.
Yeah. So here we go with this edition of Stu's Views. And we're looking at consciousness as a game of consciousness. And we'll go back in time to maybe when we were kids. And the game was, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. But given that the camera and the mic is on me, I'll go first, okay? And so this is kind of a form of spiritual nudity, if you will, because it really is now time to bare the soul. And the conversation today was very much about love. And really, ultimately, isn't that what we are here for? And we may not be able to put it in words, because energetically it is a vibration that has its own spectrum. And some of it is really hot and juicy. And some of it is so deeply profound. And ultimately, isn't it true that without love, you know, our lives really don't have much meaning? And it can show up in some of the most simplest ways, whether just loving to look at the ocean or a flower or our friends or embracing a hug or to taste some chocolate or, you know, some fine wine or whatever you're into. And really have that. Can we bring that consciousness, that awareness that I am here to love? Whoever you are here to love. And just maybe as we're talking about something that's greater than all of us, whether you call it God, Spirit, Source, the universe, the unified field of consciousness, whatever this thing is called, and whatever it is that you would define it in your terms, is it possible that it is here to experience love through us? And whatever path we're on, no matter how far we think we're off it, no matter how hard we think life is, isn't it possible that we can access love somehow? And if we do, it can make such a difference in our lives. And I'm really inviting this in big time, as this is what it's about. This is what Get Conscious Now is about. This is what our lives are about. And this is what Stus Views is about right here, right now. So I'm really inviting you to play the game. I'm showing your mind. I'm here to love. I'm here to have joy. I'm here to live it up, because this is a temporary situation here. So I've also make the most of it. I'm inviting you to do the same. So go out and show us what you got. That's it for Stus Views, and now it's time for Patricia and her quantum quote.
Thank you. That was beautiful, as usual.
So, I think the most important work that we can do is to love ourselves. Unconditionally, first and foremost, love ourselves. And this is not what we've been taught to do. At least in my generation, the boomer generation, I was never taught to love myself. And I think a big part of that wasn't that our parents didn't love us or care for us and want the best for us. I think that the word self-love got collapsed with self-importance and conceit even, and self-aggrandizement, if you will. So I grew up really not understanding the importance of self-love, and it was further compounded by a molestation, a sexual molestation that happened to me at age 7, when I was fully immersed in the Catholic doctrine around mortal sin. And it wasn't just dying and going to hell that we were told that God would never love us again. So this event had a tremendous impact on my life. It was the source of my self-loathing. But on the positive side, it was the reason and the impetus for my seeking God and for my career as a spiritual counselor. So in all transparency, learning to love myself has been the greatest challenge in my life, the greatest challenge. However, I've made tremendous breakthroughs, and they're still happening. And I want to share one with you right now about something that happened to me this very week. And it's about my kitty named Joy Lovey. So I love animals. I'm an animal lover, but I adore cats. Sometimes I even feel like I am a cat. And I have 2 cats. I have a beautiful black male cat who is totally affectionate and such a love. And his name is Harmony Magic. And I have his sister, Joy Lovey, who is frail and tiny and skinny and skittish and afraid of her own shadow, hiding all the time from people until she gets to know you. So Joy Lovey has never gone out of the home, ever. She's always been too afraid to go out. And a week ago Wednesday, I had carpet people come to clean, and I put her in this little kitty porch where she was secure, but she was so freaked out by the noises that she went out the kitty door and into the backyard, and she disappeared. I was just stunned. She was gone for 7 days, and I live in the hills of Summerlin, Coyote Country. Now, while all this was happening, I was getting information from my guides and my own inner guidance that told me, don't worry, she's fine, she'll be back. And I wanted to go there, but I was just too upset. I think I kind of failed that test. And I did everything. I papered the neighborhood with flyers. I walked door to door, 3 streets up. I met a lot of wonderful people, and nothing. In fact, I heard her cry at 5 in the morning. And I threw my clothes on and jumped in my car, and I went up with a kitty carrier and food, and I called and called and called, and I heard her, but I could not find her. So this past Wednesday, as I'm doing my best to prepare for the show and doing everything else in my life, I'm cooking dinner, and I just broke down, and I knew that I couldn't cook dinner in that space of grief. So I gave myself the opportunity to just be quiet, and I got the message to sit down with my journal and start writing. And this is what my guides said to me. They said, Joy Lovey is a metaphor for how you haven't loved yourself completely. I put all this love and attention and affection into this male cat, and I didn't do the same for her. And what I realized in my grief was how much I loved this little girl and how much I missed her being in my life with all her idiosyncrasies. I loved her, and I didn't let her know that, and I felt so sad. And so I grieved and I cried, and I allowed myself to express the tears. And then I thought, wow, this is an important lesson for me. My guides are telling me that this lesson is that I haven't really loved myself the way I haven't loved her, and I haven't expressed that love for her, and I haven't expressed it to myself. So I thought, well, if I've learned the lesson now, then maybe she'll be back. And what my guides told me is, yes, she will be back. I closed my journal, I walked into my bedroom, and right there and then, I heard her cry out my bedroom window. Not a peep, except for that one time I heard her. I heard her cry out my bedroom window, and I ran downstairs, and there she was. It was a miracle. It was nothing less than a miracle. So it was a very important lesson for me to understand how critically important it is for us to love ourselves and to express that love for ourselves, to look in the mirror and say, I love you. I love you exactly the way you are and exactly the way you're not. So I've chosen a quote from Robert to close the show that speaks to exactly what I experienced. Seek love. If you can't find it, look within your heart first. If you stumble on your way, let hope be your guide. If you become lost, let faith help you find your way back. And I did. And that's it for today's show. So thanks so much for watching, and I'm so appreciative of the audience being here. And Robert,
Yes.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are you ready?
We are.
You're ready, everyone.
Until next time,
Until next time,
get conscious now.
if you are passionate about your message, if you want your book to be the best it can be, and if you want someone to do it for you with your collaboration every step of the way, then Ellen Reed is the one for you. Get Conscious Now is proud to be sponsored by American Riviera Bank. It's our bank, and we feel good about it.
When I was growing up as a kid, I used to go around with him and watch him.
My mother and I both worked at Lowry Field.
To keep on doing this together.
Welcome to State and Fig, located in historic La Arcada Plaza in downtown Santa Barbara.
Our menu focuses on products that are raised in the state of California, inspired by the flavors of the Riviera.
And we are proud to be sponsoring this program.
I'm attorney Gregory Lowe. I will prepare your trust, bankruptcy, divorce, conservatorship, probate, evictions. All of this I can do at an affordable price and with caring. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Kelly Brandenburg. I've been a stylist for the last 15 years. I'm a color specialist, as well as I provide a wide variety of other services. You can find me at 19 Blue Salon in the heart of downtown. I'm happy to be a sponsor of Get Conscious Now.